I'm going to look at is the social presence scheme. And the first thing I want to look at is our Flipped Fridays. Flipped Fridays is something I've incorporated new for this year. In the beginning of every week, the students have the task of watching a short micro lecture prepared by me before class on Friday. If they have completed the notes and practice problems, they can work on their homework with the class in front of their peers. This is a sample one.
Hi class. Today we're going to talk about proportions. And if you remember, a proportion is just an equation.
So what happens if they get their work done, it's their responsibility to make sure that they watch that video on their own so they can work on their practice problems in class. If not, they have to watch the video with me and not get their homework until at the very end of the hour. I'm trying to teach them to be a little bit more responsible. In the beginning of the school year, I had originally wanted to try completely flipping my classroom, but because we are not a one-to-one school and not everyone has access at home, it was a little bit more difficult. With the Flipped Friday, students are exposed to the concept of a flipped classroom and to use the micro lectures. I'm giving them a brief introduction because our high school teachers are starting to turn towards it themselves. Originally, I had used videos my book had created, and on the second week I made my own. And the students actually said that they prefer listening to me much better. They have a connection to me, not the student. That's where the social presence comes in. It's also more about responsibility. In the article, Online Learning Pros and Cons, it states students there on the internet all the time, but they don't realize that in reality the online courses that we have are more self-motivated. They have to take more initiative on their own to get their work done and stay on top of it. So it's not just what's inside the classroom is their responsibility, there's outside work that needs to be done too. They also stated the biggest difference is not having that face-to-face communication. You still have to email, but you don't have the chance to ask a few questions before class. There could be a few discrepancies when you read something as opposed to hearing it, but otherwise they are pretty similar. That's where the responsibility key comes in. A truly flipped classroom, an online classroom, you don't have that connection with your teacher, and that's what I'm still trying to incorporate here, the blended learning experience. I want to be there if my students need me. If they have questions, they can ask me face to face. It's not as much responsibility as a truly online class, but we're gearing them towards the possibility of taking one. The Flipped Fridays idea and any type of technology integration in blended classrooms switches the responsibility from this teacher to student. Students have more responsibility to make sure things are taken care of on their own, and teachers have less on their shoulders too. Because I've made videos this year, they're already done for next year. Plus, if students don't understand an example or concept, instead of reteaching something over and over again, they have access to it from me right at home, and they can watch the video at home, as if I'm even there. Tucker mentions in the article Basics of Blending Learning that some teachers think that incorporating online work means they have to be available 24 hours a day. And I'm sure that's what some of us are thinking as I'm going through this presentation. It's not the case. When students are connected online, they have a network of peers that they can reach to for their support, and they begin to see one another as valuable resources in their class community. This important shift in perception needs to take place if we are engaged students in active learning in the classroom and online. It's no longer teacher-centered, it's student-centered, and they need to take more of that responsibility. Learning is a very human activity. The more people feel they are being treated as human beings, that their human needs are being taken into account, the more they are likely to learn and learn to learn. Sometimes I feel it's very easy to forget that we're teaching humans. As teachers, test scores are such a focus and highlight that we get concerned more about what they teach rather than who we teach. If we take the concept of social presence of not only the teacher in micro lectures and things like that, but the students as well, we will have more likely of a chance to reach them. Tying something of their interest in a lesson is key. We want to make them want to learn. Live lectures can be recorded. They can be played back later, which can enrich the student's experience. With a blended learning experience, it also provides a platform for faculty members to evaluate class performance and teaching methods. It's like having your teacher there to help you on your schedule, on your time, rather than having to meet face-to-face. It gives you more of a chance to meet with the students that need the help, rather than ones that can be independent learners. Keep in mind, though, that some things never change. Other key considerations for teachers to include is the need to provide timely feedback, encourage student-to-student interaction, consider students' technology access when planning learning activities, guard against diminishing the value of content knowledge, and use their online course to teach content and literacy building. Addressing each of these concept components in an online setting will help facilitate student success. That comes from CARE, Tips, Tools, and Techniques for Teaching in the Online Classroom. There's some things that we as teachers have to make sure we do. If students have an assignment, we need to make sure that we have timely feedback. Things like that will never change, whether we're in an online classroom or whether we're in a brick and mortar type.